Welcome to the 2021 Spring Meetings Governor Talk Series. I am Jihad Azour, Director of the Middle East and Central Asia Department of the IMF. I want to thank Governor Fahad Almubarak for joining me today. Governor Almubarak, welcome, or I would say welcome back to Sama. Let me start with my first question. My first question is about the G20 presidency of Saudi last year. 2020 was an exceptionally challenging year for the world, and Saudi was in hold of the G20 presidency. As a Sherpa during the presidency, as well as also in charge of preparing this important events, and looking back, what are the key issues or achievements that were accomplished during this exceptional year, 2020?
Well, thank you very much, Jihad, for inviting me to your talk. It's always a pleasure to be back to the IMF. And indeed, 2020 was a very challenging year, and Saudi Arabia happened to be at the helm of the G20 group, which is the most important group. G20 was created even at the early times of finance minister and central bank governors to manage crisis. Back in the Asian crisis, again in 2008. And for 2020, we have been working very hard in identifying during 2018 and 19 what are the most important priorities that we should address as part of our G20 program for 2020. And we have met with all kind of organizations and people. We reviewed all past communiques and issues being discussed in the G20 and other international organization and groups. We have met with the IMF, thank you. We had a workshop for 3 days, also with the World Bank, WTO, WHO, Agriculture and Food, OECD, and where we start brainstorming about what are the top important priorities to address in 2020. And indeed, we designed a very, very ambitious program where I took it around to all the Sherpas in the last quarter of 2019, and the common word from all the Sherpas that it is very good and very important program. However, it was too ambitious and they were afraid that we would not be able to cover it during the presidency year. And we had a theme of realizing opportunities of the 21st century for all people, all countries. And it has 3 main aims, which is the one and the most important one is empowering people through fostering resilience in healthcare provision, renewing the focus on education and protecting labor market. This is very, very important, with especially focusing on women and youth. The second aim also we selected for our presidency is safeguarding the planet. After all, that is our neighborhood where we live in, to make strong growth sustainable while conserving our natural resources. Our third aim is shaping new frontiers by harnessing the benefits of digital technologies, boosting the opportunities for all, and ensuring a better connected world. We have translated this into many different priorities and programs. And we listed at the beginning over 120 priorities where we screened them through criteria of which ones are most important globally, which ones are implementable, and which one also relevant to the region, because also the G20 moves from one region to another, and therefore we met with the Arab Monetary Fund, the Islamic Development Fund, and some other regional organizations to understand what are the challenges in the region. So we put together a very ambitious program in all areas, in the health and employment, women empowerment, environment, energy and climate, as well as water for the first time to be in the table of the G20 discussion. And of course, we came up with a very important areas in the Riyadh initiative on the future of WTO. And this puts the principles of reform of the WTO under its own umbrella. Also, we have done a lot of work in the anti-corruption area, where we launched the Riyadh initiative for enhancing international anti-corruption law enforcement cooperation. There are many other areas in the financial inclusion and digital tax areas that were also part of the program. However, in the first quarter of the year, we were hit with the pandemic, something, to be honest, we did not plan for. We did think during the storm 2019 what kind of crisis that could come up that we could be ready for. So we thought of debt crisis, currency war, trade war, possible recession, digital cyber security, but we never ever thought that it's going to come from a pandemic of this magnitude. So immediately, King Salman called for a summit, invited all the leaders, and put forward a very strong agenda, working with all international organizations and members in order to safeguard the planet and the people. This pandemic, this crisis was far-reaching on health, social, and economics. In matters of few weeks, the whole world was frozen. Trade, travel, and financing. So we had to put together a new agenda for to combat this pandemic. And indeed, with the presence of all the leaders of G20 and invited guests and international organization, the summit took place on March 26, and many decisions were taken. And the leaders decided in several actions. One of them is injecting an unprecedented stimulus of over $11 trillion into different economies, contributing $21 billion to support development and research, development, and distribution of vaccines, where Saudi Arabia have contributed 500. Also, launching a debt relief initiative by reallocating 20 billion toward their imminent health and financial crisis for 73 eligible countries, thanks to the IMF support and work on this area. Also committing to ensure the flow of vital medical supplies. It was very important to reopen the borders. And the leaders at that time decided to do whatever it takes for us to overcome this pandemic and its impact on lives and livelihoods. However, the Saudi G20 presidency, despite these new challenging areas, we decided to continue pursuing our original agenda, and we remained focused on that. However, we did modify it a little bit in order to better suit the situation and help in the recovery. We decided to go with restoring growth by working together to overcome the pandemic, and secondly, to recover stronger by shaping more resilient, sustainable, inclusive future growth. So with all of these, we were able to come up with very powerful declaration by the leaders, which had many initiatives, both in March as well as in November. And indeed, Saudi Arabia is the only country that had two summits in 1 year. So in a very challenging year, Jihad, and it was, we were very happy and honored and humbled to lead the world toward recovery.
Thank you very much, Governor. Let me move to my second question, which is on Saudi. At the same time, you had to deal with the global crisis, but also with the crisis that hit Saudi like many other countries. A double whammy shock with the COVID-19, as well as also the volatility in oil price that has led to a drop in oil revenues. How do you assess the management of the crisis in 2020 for the Saudi economy? And what do you attribute the relatively good performance in the non-oil sector that we saw in 2020?
Thank you. Indeed, when the crisis hit, Saudi Arabia was in a strong position to face up to it. Thanks to our Vision 2030 that started 4 years ago and started bearing fruits. And we have seen our very strong health systems being resilient, sustainable, and being able to sustain the huge impact of COVID-19. We also took very strict measures in terms of lockdown, other social restrictions in order to protect our people. We made vaccines available to all those who live in Saudi Arabia, whether they are Saudis, non-Saudis, even those who are illegal immigrants. When it comes to health, there is no difference in human treatment to these people. This definitely have helped us minimize the spread of the virus, and at the same time, fiscal measures as well as central bank programs have helped minimize the damage on small and medium businesses. Programs that have helped contribute to social safety for those who are not able to maintain their employment. Also, the central bank have done several programs that help SMEs and other small and micro companies.
Thank you very much. Let me focus on this issue, on what the central bank SAMA did. How do you assess the various measures that were introduced back in 2020 to protect livelihoods and support SMEs and private sector? And when do you think that Saudi will start unwinding some of those measures?
Thank you very much. The central bank have done several programs. We stayed close to understanding where are the maximum risk on our economic sectors, and we found that SMEs are the most impacted. Therefore, we started several programs, at least four. One of them is we asked the banks to defer payments due by the SMEs. Additional program is guaranteeing finance when the banks, the central bank, along with other government entities, we would help SMEs by guaranteeing their loans for them to be able to sustain the temporary situation. A third program was loan guarantee, as well as fee support for point of sale. We reduced, because sale and commercial activities were low, we have reduced the cost on the transactions. This altogether cost about $74 billion that we were very happy to offer it to the economy. Additionally, the central bank also injected over $13 billion of cash into the bank in order to offer ample liquidity for them to be able to offer loans and other activities to consumers and SMEs. Finally, we also activated open market operation for banks to reduce short-term liquidity fluctuation. These programs together have worked very well and has been very effective in minimizing the damage on the economic activities, especially for small and medium services. We have also renewed many of those programs recently, as we don't think it is wise to prematurely withdraw from those programs until we see actual recovery.
On that, Governor, how do you see the recovery in 2021 for Saudi?
As we are just finished the first quarter of this year, I tell you that it's positive. The IMF predicted 2.9 recovery, 2.9 growth this year. And we believe, looking at the initial indicators of the economic activities and the stability of oil prices, thanks to OPEC Plus, that Saudi Arabia is leading, even though we are sacrificing a little bit in the production. However, achieving a stable oil prices is good for Saudi Arabia, for producers, consumers, and for the region.
Thank you very much. Let me move to my next question. And my next question is more, I would say, a mix between a personal and where do you stand today? You're coming back, and welcome back, as I said in my introduction, after 5 years being Minister of State. And during this period, you worked hard on the G20 preparation, as well as also the presidency of Saudi for the G20. Now you're back into central banking. How do you assess the change that took place in the central banking activities worldwide and also in Saudi? And what do you see as the key priorities going forward, especially that the COVID-19 was an accelerator of several important trends?
No, indeed, definitely having had the experience of spending some time with the G20, especially on the Sherpa side, it opened my mind to other areas that we as central bankers and finance ministers don't necessarily dive deep into. So I have been able to work on labor policy, health policy, education policy, environmental, climate, energy, anti-corruption, all, and even for women. We have done so much work on women, and we launched the women empowerment during our presidency. When I came back, this wealth of knowledge globally have helped us a lot in better understanding the challenges of the hour. Furthermore, my experience as Minister of State, a member of the Council of Ministers, have also given me the opportunity to see policies of other ministries and other sectors where it would need to be integrated nicely with the monetary policy and fiscal policy. Take, for example, housing as one of the areas, and telecommunication and technology is another area. So indeed, with this exposure, I came back to find even more challenging. However, I came back after 4 years of implementing Vision 2030, which aimed at diversifying the economy, developing new economies, developing new sectors, such as the tourism sector, the cultural sector, sport sectors, and there are many other subsectors that have started. We have a lineup of very large projects around the kingdom that will make Saudi Arabia even more attractive for its own people and for our countries around the world to come here for business and tourism. So I think there are challenges in the central bank. I would tell you that one of the challenges is the financial digitalization, whether coming from financial technology, fintechs, or coming from digital banks that will be licensed soon. All of these are challenges that require the central bank to catch up very quickly and be able to cope with the changing environment and lead ahead of the industry in terms of regulations and monitoring.
Governor Fahad Almubarak, thank you very much indeed for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us. From the IMF headquarters in Washington, I wish you a very good day. Thank you.